Well, again, welcome everyone. It's Brian Berkfield with Hubbub Health, and thank you so much for spending time with us today. I'm delighted to share with you a new topic that we've put together, and we've really put it together in our interactions with industry leaders in the health and wellness space, as well as clients of Hubbub and friends of the industry. And so our topic today is everyone needs a coach, and there's a number of different ways that we're going to delve into just the concept of coaching, and specifically the concept of coaching in the health and wellness industry, and then as it relates to employer-supported wellness programs. I'm super excited today to welcome guest speaker Danielle. And Danielle is a coach on the Hubbub platform. She has extensive experience in many aspects, as you can see here by her bio. And Danielle, please, welcome to our session today.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for including me.
Well, and what makes this so special is not only is Danielle a professional in this industry with, as you can see here, a laundry list of accolades and accomplishments, but Danielle and I have actually worked together. She's been my health coach for a number of years here on Hubbub, and I've been able to make incredible transformations in my personal and professional life. I want to share that with you. But specifically from your perspective, Danielle, I mean, you have so many different experiences. I mean, what are you most excited to maybe share with the group today?
Well, I think what I'm most excited about is probably one of the reasons why you and I hit it off so well as a coach and coachee relationship is that I've been in the corporate world for 14 plus years, and 12 of those years I was in a very high stress, high burn position as a management consultant and traveled considerably. So I was faced with so many challenges about how to stay healthy when I was relying on food from airports and hotels and very limited in hours and stuck sleeping in hotels and hoping that they would actually provide me a good night's sleep. So I know what it's like, and I know how challenging it can be to be working full-time and trying to manage a family and manage your health.
I think that is such an interesting perspective, and what I appreciated also about a comment there is you said the family word. So many times in businesses we are so anxious to achieve corporate goals and outcomes, and that's obviously why we have business. But realizing that family plays a certain very important and special role in our employees' lives, and potentially how through a coaching session we're able to not turn it obviously into a family therapy session, but to realize that there are certain motivators and stresses in employees' lives. And so today's session is really about how coaching can be real, and real for you as business leaders, but most importantly be real and effective for your employees, so that through that experience, we are ultimately driving business outcomes. I think one of the things that we looked at is when we thought of this topic, we drew from this quote by, of course, Bill Gates, and that is this idea that everyone needs a coach. And I want you to comment on that in a minute here, Danielle, but before we do that, I want to remind everyone, and again, thank you for those who have just joined us. It's Brian and Danielle from Hubbub Health. We're going to cover some important information, but on the right-hand side of your GoToMeeting dropdown, there's a tab that might be mean to be expanded that says questions. And for those of you, I'm seeing already some questions come through. We'd like to create this as more of a conversation. And so please, throughout this session, we're going to open it up at the end, but pose questions or comments, and we'll address those accordingly. So going back to this quote by Bill Gates and this idea that everyone needs a coach. And I think one of the things too, Danielle, is that when we look at coaching, a lot of times, I mean, I personally look at coaching and I think of it as either when I was a little kid or when I had problems with my health and I had a disease management coach call me. And so these coaches have had different roles in my life, and not all of them have been effective. I mean, or effective for me. Tell me about your thought on this idea that everyone needs a coach.
Well, I think that your experience is pretty traditional, but hopefully has been shifting over the years. You know, I would say probably 20 years ago or so, there was more, if you imagine in corporate America, you have leaders that are moving up the track, and And if there were some skill gaps, you'd identify a coach, a mentor, a colleague, or someone to help that person fill in the skills that were lacking. And it was more of this is a requirement. And now you've seen a shift where people are realizing that they personally want to grow professionally, and they seek out coaches. And so it's becoming more of a positive, and it should be considered a positive. But that shift in thinking is something that I believe that we should be taking into the employee wellness realm. That, traditional coaching, health coaching, that is only calling people they're at high risk, is not the model that's going to get success. It's when somebody actually raises their hand and says, I want support, and I know that there's availability of support out there for me.
Yeah, I so appreciate that perspective, Danielle, because as I look at this title slide, everyone needs a coach. You can look at it in the context of maybe two lenses, and one of those lenses is that traditional view, as you stressed, that people had problems or issues, employees weren't performing, there were gaps, people were at high risk, and so that we need to throw a coach in that situation to make it better. And that, to me, kind of has this negative connotation. But when you look at it from your perspective that everyone needs a coach, the positive, then I think that maybe we're able to position the opportunity for coach intervention in your employee lives as a positive with greater opportunity for outcome. And so that really, if we can think of the context and the table set moving forward, that's where we're going to lead this discussion. And we're going to lead it through the lens of, again, going back on science. And one of the things that we've really prided ourselves on at Hubbub is drawing innovative thought through the platform of science that has either existed for literally decades or more contemporary thought. One of the things that Michelle or Danielle, you and I had talked about is really how you draw from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I mean, this has been around since 1940, of course, but how also we're looking at this through the lens of maybe Dr. B.J. Fogg or even Drs. Fowler and Christakis. And so look at things from intrinsic to extrinsic motivators, Fogg's whole thing of small habits and habit stacking, and then the power of social and the value of that in a coaching scenario for best results and outcomes. And so just a quick review, I mean, from your perspective, I mean, you're dealing with hundreds of interactions with individuals. What's this idea, and how do you think of when you're working with folks on intrinsic and extrinsic drivers?
Well, I think that goes to exactly what I just mentioned recently, was that really to see change, somebody intrinsically has to be able to put a pin on exactly why they're going to seek change, because it's not easy. It requires effort, and we're not, the world doesn't stop for us to make changes, particularly from a health perspective. But where a coach comes in too is these extrinsic motivators. Is that, when you have somebody that is holding you accountable, that cares about you, that's helping you be objective about your health and the behaviors that you're engaging in, you can combine those two to see much more success. And I think that the important part here too is this self-realization. Is people, they need to come to a point of self-realization before they see change. And whether they can do that on their own or whether they would benefit from a coach, it just depends on the person. So that's where coaches can help people of all levels, as long as the most basic needs are being met.
That's an interesting comment, that idea of finding our way to the top of Maslow's pyramid to get to that point of self-realization. It doesn't necessarily mean that we've truly mastered all the earlier rungs, but we're at a point where we can be in a position to receive some objective advice. I know I speak to a lot of wellness and human resource leaders, and we look at maybe pockets of our employee population. Wow, why can't they just see, the danger that they're in, or the risk that they're posing for themselves or their family? And I know we're going to get into a little bit. It's or later in this is Coach the Ready. People aren't ready until they've gotten to the top of this pyramid. So, as we look through the next few slides here, that idea of this is where we need to find people, and not everyone is there at the same time. And so looking at different coach options for your organizations, it's one that is maybe flexible enough to bring in the idea of, how we're going to address the people that are ready. And then I think one of the things that you've always said, I just want to hop on that idea, Danielle, is this idea of ready for objective discussions. It doesn't always have to be tough love, but I think you've found the way that you delicately weave in the objectivity with, finding what's truly intrinsically driving people.
Absolutely. And I think we all can benefit from an objective opinion, whether it's about our health or whether our leadership style or our approach to day-to-day work. And that's why thinking about health coaching not as just a solution for helping those most in a challenging position when it comes to health, but more being able to help everybody at all levels improve.
Well, that's an interesting segue because, most of us on the call are thinking of health coaching, a service that we've subscribed to for our organizations that might be included in our carrier's wellness solution, or one that, we've gotten outside of that we're paying a certain fee per employee count. And it's all about that traditional, quote, maybe disease management style. And, I can personally comment to this because, a few years back when I was 45 pounds overweight and 4 significant risk factors and 7 medications, I had plenty of health coaches call me during dinner. I was in a 1-800 number and somebody left a comment in the coach. Either I was getting called because my risk factors were popping up in the biometrics that were submitted through my carrier to my employer, and or I was missing, filling out and getting my cholesterol medication. So, as we started this call, it was very much a negative situation for me. In fact, it's totally turned me off. And every time I got that dreaded call from that health coach, it moved me further away from a positive situation and getting me to the point that I was somewhere near self-realization. What's your experience, Danielle? Because I know you're reaching out or you're working with employees and organizations, and they at times have that connotation that you are, quote, someone that's going to nag them.
Well, I think this is funny, not funny, but a funny kind of experience to share is I often work with people for a specific period of time, and soon after we've been working together and they've been seeing success, it's the next request is, can you coach my spouse? And my spouse doesn't do this, my spouse doesn't do that. They're really unhealthy too. Would you coach them? And my first question is, do they want to coach? Do they want to coach? And this is really an important question because we will not see results when I am the nag, or I am the person that your spouse hired to help you, quote unquote. We see results when that individual coachee has raised their hand, as I mentioned, to say, I want to improve. I want to improve my health. I may hear about it. I may hear about what I'm supposed to do, but I just need to create a plan and really break through what's holding me back. I want to see results. And we spend a lot of time building that relationship to even move forward.
I think that's an interesting point. You brought up this relationship and time spent to do that. And I think as business leaders buying services for our organizations, particularly around health coaching, and then having senior leadership kind of look at the budgets and scrutinize it as they should, and we want that, they kind of look at this coaching thing as either a necessary evil because we're going to get those people that aren't on the right track on a better track. And, we don't want to move coaching into the idea of, quote, a therapist, because I think there's some business leaders that then view it, the minute you start talking about a relationship in a coaching situation, that's too soft and esoteric for me as a business leader to justify that expense. That's someone else's need. Can you comment maybe on how you've been able to bridge appropriately how to develop the productive relationship to get people to the point of behavior change?
Right. Well, I think this is an important part of a strategy of a coach that's been effectively trained is to be able to do some motivational interviewing and collaboration, but be able to redirect when necessary. So if it is getting too far down a path of a therapy type of session, there needs to be space to be able to speak and find out if the topic of concern is actually causing health issues. But there's also a point where the coach, we have set goals that we need to achieve out of each session, and we need to have clearly laid out steps that the client has defined as what steps they're going to take for improved health. And so we can't spend the 30 minutes just having a therapy session. What we can do is create the space and then jump in as needed to say, okay, well, how does this relate to your inability to sleep, or your inability to find 10 minutes for you to start walking daily, and bring them back to that big game that they have defined in the beginning, and those skills that they've defined that they want to work on.
Yeah, I know that's the right balance that you and your colleagues at Hubbub walk with employee groups that we're with. And when you said we're going to define a list of objective things to do, I kind of got this anxiety of personally going back to a number of our sessions where, it's great that we're having this conversation, Brian. We uncovered this, but specifically, what are you going to be doing as a result of that? And I think that's the right balance in a professional coaching environment that uses the right methods. And that's what we want to share with the audience as we go through the next set of slides is reviewing kind of these coach moments that individuals go through. And I know you put together several situations here, maybe just as a level set for the group. I think we have 4 examples of parents and a doctor and a golf coach maybe, but go through what's going on in the minds of the coach and the recipient, because the next phase of this conversation then is, okay, how does that apply directly to the worksite wellness solution?
Okay, so when I first put together and I thought about a parent and a child, I knew that people would say, that how does that relate to my employees and my employee population and wellness? And it's not as obvious as you might think, or it may feel too far away. But what's really important here is to think about this child. So this child is being coached. They have been told by their parents and caregivers, maybe their brothers and sisters, how to ride a bike. They've watched other people how to ride a bike. They have this, what they have, that's really important to call it, they have this intrinsic desire to ride a bike. So what I love about this experience is that the parent is truly a coach in this moment, because they can't do what we often want to do as parents and just jump in and ride the bike for the child. But they truly have to help them, guide them both from a motivational standpoint, but help them break through some of the challenges they're facing. Why every time do I come up to a rock am I not making my way over? What do you do in those situations? So they really help the child troubleshoot so that they can get through and achieve their big game of riding a bike. So I love this because it's perfect, right? You golf instructors, I think I know many people that play golf, and they often are very comfortable. Even the most I would say practiced golfer would like to have an experience with a coach to help them, and a professional help them tweak their game. But again, if you notice here, if this golfer didn't actually raise their hand to request support, they might take it exactly how you took it when the health coaches were calling you about your biometrics. They might be kind of flustered and disturbed, like why are you giving me this coaching, this guidance that I didn't request? So again, here it's an expert objective opinion and an intrinsic motivation of that player.
I know when I play golf, I'm sure that the golf course management team is going to waiting any moment where they're going to send a coach out to correct my swing so I wouldn't cause more damage to houses on the golf course. So maybe that's just my bad belief of traditional health coaching when I was called all the time during my dinner session. So
they won't go out there, but if you request it, they're happy to support you.
yeah. So
so this situation, I think, is a perfect one that really portrays the carrot kind of versus the stick approach. So when you think about a professional mentorship type of relationship, it goes both ways. So, but it really is driven by that colleague that's seeking the support from a more senior colleague. So it really needs to be driven by that person to say, I'm having this meeting. This is the approach I'm taking. What would you do? How would you approach it? And it really, it's not the elder business professional going in and saying this is how it has to be done. In a true mentorship relationship, it's the mentee that needs to raise their hand and help them develop to a higher professional level.
So the three examples that we just shared, I mean, I can see in my lens that, that could be the positive side of coaching, right? I mean, I'm a child, I want to learn to ride my bike. I'm a golfer, I want to improve my swing. I'm an aspiring professional, I'm looking to build in some skill gaps to either be more productive with my team or in my career track. When I look at this, though, I immediately think of, okay, this is not a positive situation.
Mm-hmm.
I know that a lot of the folks on the call today are thinking of their employee populations that have health risks, that have biometrics, because maybe they've done a screening recently and they have issues that need to be addressed. And so how can this be a positive situation, and from your experience? And
well, what is positive about having doctor's orders or having a request from the doctor to make some changes is you have an external expert party providing essentially motivational factors that are supposed to motivate you. That's where a good coach comes in, is to help those requests from the doctor. You need to lose 25 pounds, you need to lower your blood pressure, and you need to manage your blood sugar, three really common ones, is to help the player from Hubbub or the client make that achievable, because doctors actually don't have the time. They don't really have the time. They get 10 minutes, if that, with their patients, unless you have an integrative practitioner. They get 10 minutes, they give direct orders, and they don't have the time to truly spend coaching. And that's where we often fall short of patient compliance, is because there isn't a middle ground. There isn't a coach to help with implementation.
so you talked about, I'm in a doctor's office. I just got, going back again, when my primary care shared with me on biometrics early on, and that was supposed to be a motivation. Me, it just felt like this insurmountable task to lose 45 pounds and, go figure it out and come see me in 6 months. We know that employees in our employer groups that are on the call today, those are the folks that we're trying to make change in. So I know for the next few slides, we're going to talk about maybe approaching that coaching session differently, and this whole idea of coaching being more of lifestyle, and how through an intervention and an analysis of an employee's life and the stresses in that life, how we can make a very productive, succinct coaching session that's going to deliver results for that individual. I think that's one of the things we prided ourselves on in Hubbub, is incorporating different philosophies and approaches. This art of coaching, it really is an art. I mean, having worked with you, Danielle, and others on your team, the way you approach it based on different philosophies is an art, and knowing when to use certain behavior design strengths. And let's talk about this. Like, I know we're going to get into in the next few slides this idea of play to win method and lifestyle coaching. Again, I go back to busy business leaders having a budget to approve for a corporate wellness program, and you're going to tell me that we're going to support lifestyle coaching? the traditional thought where, hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent on coaching would say lifestyle coaching, it doesn't play a role in an organization and we're too busy for that. Tell me about what your thought is.
Well, I think that if we expect that doctors' orders is going to achieve results without having the implementation piece taken care of, then we'll continue to see the health risks that our population has grow and grow. And we'll continue to see chronic preventable disease increase in America. And in my own experience, as somebody that is trained in nutrition, that has had a transformation, I know that I couldn't have done this by just reading or watching a webinar online without having somebody there to support me, or reading a blog post, or having the doctor's prescription that says you need to do this or you're going to be in trouble. I know that it needs an approach that has been proven to be successful, and that's where play to win comes in. And we'll talk a little bit more about this, but play to win is around making healthy living fun. And I know that seems exactly like what you had said, Brian, like we don't have time for that. We just need to get back down to results. Well, when you add fun and you add play to the approach of healthy living, you get success rates that are drastically different than a traditional model, an approach that's very, very kind of reprimanding, if you will.
Well, you said two words that are music to my ears: play and fun. Knowing that those are, if they're sprinkled in the right dosing, under the right philosophy, that you get results. And I think that as we look at human nature, if it isn't fun, that you're not going to have people engaged in that situation. And you talked about play to win. After this slide, I have an example of 3 situations that you've worked through. And what I want to do is, cue up a little bit of your, again, play to win, but then how we're going to incorporate that into direct results that are going to lead to improved performance at work, improved productivity, better team performance, and ultimately a more engaged organization. So play to win. You use that daily and all the time with your coachees.
I do, and I use it at varying levels depending on the person. But the essential foundation of it is to make healthy living fun, and to make it to think about it in terms of a game. So you set your big game, and in the very beginning, like, what's your purpose? Why are you here? Why do you want to work with me? What do you want to achieve? And then we work through skills that you want to improve. And what I think is one of the most challenging parts of making transformational change in life is that we're really hard on ourselves. And society over the past 20, 30 years has put this level of guilt on ourselves when we don't do, quote unquote, what's expected of us from a health perspective. But our work in play to win is to find out why. Why is there consistent failure? Or why are you failing on some skills and not on others? So that we can change the game for you. We need to change the game and have you working on skills that you might somewhat already be good at and that you need to improve. So it's a skills-based approach. It's an approach that uses language that helps people get excited about their work, their efforts. And it's really focused on helping people win. And so if goals are set that we're not achieving, it's not supposed to be viewed as negative. It's supposed to be viewed as a learning opportunity so that we can reset goals that are achievable.
So as you were sharing that story, I was thinking of all the individuals, including myself at times, setting these absolutely unachievable, astronomical New Year's resolutions. and and approaching every year the same way we did the year before, only to fail at our resolution and to have that sense of failure. And so what I'm appreciating, Danielle, what you and the team at Hubbub have brought into the coaching environment is this whole idea of making it fun. We're going to play a game. We're going to make it and set up so that we can have success. I mean, here's that idea that you've helped introduce. What is your big game? So share with me that, and then we'll go through these 3 examples of, we've actually chosen these directly from employees that have gone through our coaching program at Hubbub. And how do we break this down, and how do we make it achievable? And share with us.
Well, this is an important place to start. So we often, clients will come in and they'll have goals, for example, the ones that we've laid out here. And the key to the initial discussions with a coach is to really understand the purpose behind this big game. Because if we don't have a driving purpose, we're not going to get there. So, I want to look great and lose 25 pounds by my high school reunion. Well, why? Why do you need to lose weight by the high school reunion? Is it where you fit in school and you're worried you'll be judged? Or is it that you weren't fit in school and you want people to judge you more positively? And then why are we evaluating ourselves based on what other people think? Do we think that we're not as good or as great of a person because we have 25 extra pounds? Trying to really help the client get to the purpose is key to actually helping them latch on to that goal and feeling connected to it, because it's very difficult to, for example, lose the weight if it's because you want somebody else to judge you differently. It's much easier if you are feeling better and you are judging yourself based upon your health and how good you feel.
I'm going through deja vu, because for the audience, this is that's my case study there. Danielle and I worked on this particular situation, so I'm always happy to share. I'm not on this call going to tell you what high school reunion number that was, but suffice to say it wasn't number 10. What I liked about what you were just sharing with the audience, Danielle, was again this idea of the big game. It reminds me a lot of business managers and leaders. I mean, when we're getting ready to start a new year, a new quarter, launch a new product, I mean, we kind of go through, from a business analysis, the same thought process. What is our big game? Where do we want to get? What do we need to do? And why are we really doing it? I know that when successful teams are productive, in essence, they kind of go through that analysis as well. So share with me then, just going through these other 2 examples, because you've had obviously experience working with folks on this too.
So, for example, here is helping somebody. I want to get in better shape so that I can keep up with my children. Well, then the question is, so why? What are you missing out on? Are you missing out on time with your children? And some clients, for example, I've had a client where I discovered that that there were other family members living in the house, and they tended to play with the children more and run around with the children more, and the person that I was working with sort of felt left out, felt like that the relationships with their children were not including as much play as they wanted, because they just couldn't keep up. They also just felt disappointed and sad. They felt, left out of the group. And they discovered too that it wasn't just about keeping up with them, is that they wanted to really set an example. So yes, the children might have been judging them, but they were judging themselves by not being a good example. And so helping them get connected with what would it look like? It doesn't just have to be about weight or size. What does a good example of health look like? And how do we then translate that into steps or skills that this client can practice and work on?
I also appreciate from sharing this example, Danielle, of the value or the importance that, as we started this conversation, the value and role that family plays in one's health, and then ultimately the role that family influence plays on that employee at the work site. And I think one of the things that I appreciate so many individuals in the industry now realizing that it's not just about the employee 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, or whenever their shift is. It's really about how we're, as business, human resource, and health and wellness leaders, engaging the employee and the family and finding out ways that we can bridge that gap. And this right here was a perfect example of finding, again, ways that we are sensitive situations that are happening outside of the 9 to 5 realm, and how coaching could play in that environment. And so this next example goes back again, I think, to that doctor-patient role and how you as a health coach have helped people in their lifestyle analysis go through making improvements in this area.
Well, I get this a lot. I've been, identified as having high blood pressure or high cholesterol. I really don't want to take medicine. I've heard bad things about the medicine, or I don't think I'm going to be good at taking the medicine, regardless of what it is. I think it's fabulous that they don't want to take medicine because there is an extrinsic motivational factor there that really they can easily measure. But in this situation, it's finding out why, beyond just the not taking medicine, what else is driving you to get healthier? Do you think that, if your blood pressure is high now, why is it high? Well, for example, a client I've had, we talked a lot about them not actually being able to find the time to reduce the stress, that they used to spend a lot of time working out. They used to, before they had kids and a full-time job, and working out was their way to reduce stress, which directly relates to blood pressure. And we had to really reframe what it looked like for them. We needed to take a look at time management properties and how that was playing in. And we also needed to reframe what it means to actually work out or to exercise. Because if you don't have 45 minutes, it doesn't mean you can't actually do something that's positive for your blood pressure and your health. You might need to take 10-minute increments, for example, if necessary, if that's what your life requires. But it's helping people to reframe it in a way that works for them, and to find more motivating factors that are related to their own personal desires and successes.
Yeah. What about this idea of habit stacking? I see a few questions that are coming in, so I want to be sensitive to the fact that we're going to break here in just a few minutes to address those questions and comments. The success of your program, Danielle, specifically on Hubbub, and how we've figured out a way to not charge employee populations for every single employee. Again, it's about coaching the ready, those people that are ready. One of the things that we'll talk about maybe later, because the question has come up already, is our new offering at Hubbub. We're creating a very flexible coach model, so based on the needs of your employees and the general population, how we can have coaching available for those people that are ready, just charging a fee for an intervention, and then how we create fun, playable challenges that are objectively set up as a result of that intervention. And specifically talking about habit stacking, I think that's where you've been able to work with your clients on Hubbub, Danielle, of creating habits, stacking them. So, and then even creating private challenges on Hubbub based on that individual intervention. So the employee has specific objective things that they're responsible to do, but it's all tied into kind of this Fogg's model, Dr. B.J. Fogg at Stanford University, and his model of habit stacking.
Well, habit stacking, I find, is and the next piece of it is basically, so habit stacking is where you actually identify habits that you already have during the day, and you build on those habits to increase the adoption of new behaviors. So to give you an example, this last, this person we were talking about that wanted to improve or wanted to lose weight, say, or improve their blood pressure, there might be a variety of habits that we would talk about. You'll see here is, increasing fruit and vegetable intake, weightlifting, water, managing your time better so that you have time to work out. So our goal is to take these big goals, I guess, if you will, and break them down into small steps that can be tacked on to what you already do. Give you a perfect example. I have a client that travels a lot on sales meetings, and he needs to manage his blood sugar better. He's trying to lose weight, but needs to manage his blood sugar better, and he forgets to eat. So every time he gets in the car now, there is snacks waiting for him, healthy snacks. And so he doesn't need to forget to eat. He doesn't need to set an alarm because he's in and out of his car pretty consistently. He just needs to look at it and say, oh, has it been 2 hours for me to eat? Okay, if it hasn't, I'm going to eat this snack. So that makes it much more likely that he's actually going to adopt that new behavior of managing his blood sugar.
I can so relate to that, and I don't know if you're drawing from our personal sessions that we've had, but that idea of identifying healthy snacks to have throughout the day. I know as I speak and give presentations to executive groups at the CEO level and VPs of HR and other audiences, you know, that idea that says we're going to help teach employees how to snack healthy. I mean, sometimes I get this rolled eye, like, come on. I mean, my employees, you know, we have a nice cafeteria and we subsidize the food so that they can pick things accordingly. The right snack seems, again, trivial. And I think one of the things that I'm trying to share with the group as we lead into questions here is that the idea to introduce coaching to employee populations in a positive mindset, provide you as business leaders a cost-effective solution to provide coaching instead of just charging you per employee per month or a set large annual fee that it's by those people that are ready. And in fact, these lifestyle activities that people can focus on, it's even good if they're focusing on the right snacking. I mean, my whole thing in making transformation in my personal life with your health tips, Danielle, was all around finding my orange, my moment, or my thing that I wanted to work on, that small little thing. And that happened through our one-on-one coaching sessions that we have here at HubUp. So I think the unique thing to share with the audience is that there are options, they're cost-effective, and there's a way that we can make coaching a positive, fun experience. So you've helped identify some things. We just have this last slide, and I think actually some of the questions that we're getting from the group, okay, so how do I choose a positive way to look at health coaching? Because, if I'm not going to pay a fee per employee per month, how do I know that it's going to be effective? And you put together kind of a checklist for our audience to think about as they're going through and identifying coach solutions.
Yes. So, taking a look at different coach solutions out there, of course, does it address health risk factors, but not just thinking about the most risky group, but thinking about preventatively the people that are just starting to show risk factors or could potentially move into your high risk category. Thinking about all levels of risk is important, and front loading your preventative measures is likely to have more of an impact. Also thinking about, are the health coaches trained enough to help people manage their time if that's an issue, or improve their health so that they can reduce the number of days they're out sick, for example, because people don't realize this, but not regularly, but what goes into your body actually defines how many days you're going to get sick, how easily you're going to get the common cold, or how easily you're going to throw out your back. It's same with exercise. But also, does the coaching experience play to your company culture and play to a positive company culture where it is a positive thing to raise your hand and say, I would love a coach. I want to improve on X, Y, or Z. And to have your senior leadership be able to jump in to that and say, I also want to do this, regardless of how, quote unquote, healthy they might already appear.
That's a key thing. We've worked with a number of our clients here at HubUp, and the differentiator has been those groups where, the CEO, she or he doesn't necessarily, again, need to be a marathon runner, but maybe they do have high cholesterol and they've raised their hand. They don't need to tell their employees that they're focused on a certain, biometric condition, but they're participating in that. And, our new model here at HubUp, where you can do one-on-one coach sessions for a 30-day period, has been very effective in getting leadership involved in that. So I know, Laura, you have a number of questions that you've been gathering from the audience. And again, anyone who's interested in either sharing a comment or a question, on the right-hand side on your GoToWebinar menu, you can pose a question for us. So, Laura, do you want to share? And we'll be mindful of people's time. We have 12 more minutes left on this call.
Sure. Thank you, Brian. One of the first questions that came in was, what can we do to help ensure that our employees are actually getting ready for coaching on their own? So they want to raise their hand, they know they have something they need to do, but how do they prepare for that?
Danielle, do you want to address that?
Well, I actually don't think, if they already know that they want to work on something, and if the employees are already raising their hand for that, I don't think there needs to be preparation if you have a coach that's well-versed in behavior modification and motivational work, and particularly the play-to-win methodology, which is a more guaranteed approach to get results.
I think also maybe, Laura, one of the things that we're seeing, it's how your partner, and meaning the employer's wellness partner or coach partner, is positioning the coaching. Is there an easy way that I can electronically maybe identify myself ready for coaching? And then how trusted and confidential is that process going to be? And am I, as an employee of the company, going to have a stigma that there's something wrong with me? So those very same issues that we started this call with, how do we position coaching in the positive? How do we make it confidential in a trusted situation? And then how do we create a productive intervention with that coach? So we're pleased here at HubUp that our new one-on-one coach offering helps identify and serve that. What about a few other questions, Laura?
Sure. So another question that was in follow-up to that was, how do I ensure that the players who are ready are raising their hand and beginning to engage?
That really plays, in our experience too, that really has played into the marketing and the communication and awareness around coaching and the coaching availability. And I think you can speak to that, Brian.
Yeah, again, it was, our new offering at HubUp was really predicated on what our clients were asking for. We don't want to pay a PEPM on every employee who traditionally hasn't accessed or utilized coaching. We discussed why that hasn't taken place, because not everyone's ready for a coach, nor has the experience been a positive one. And so, we're working with many employer groups, small, and small I say, not coaching for everyone, where we're going to work with a limited group and then build that out and make that a positive, trusting environment. So.
And we found really that it's exactly about how you position it, and that the not just the leadership of the company too, but the wellness leaders are engaging in it themselves, so that they can actually be a model and create a safe and comfortable space for other people to raise their hand.
Thanks, you guys. So we have another question about the relationship between the coach and player. Does the coach have a one-on-one relationship, or is it a group setting? And can you explain that a little bit?
So right now it's a one-on-one relationship. In the HubUp challenges, we have one-to-many, where it's a group setting, but the individual coaching is a one-to-one relationship that's confidential.
Yeah, and specifically it's for a 30-day period. It's 2 30-minute telephone conversations to develop that relationship and uncover, really what the big game is. And then from that, the coach creating private challenges or public, based on that player or employee, to create a game plan for them to execute during those phone conversations.
Thank you. Another question is, on Hubbub, can employees choose their coach, and how do they get to know their coaches?
I think that's one of those unique things that we've been able to do, is realize that personalities are different, and styles and the type of expertise or the area that I potentially want to work on is different. And so, as amazing as Danielle's skill sets and experiences is, maybe there's an employee that resonates more with Coach Aaron and his experiences. And so we provide that flexibility. The employees can choose the coach that they want to engage with. And we've created a fairly frictionless experience where the coach receives a notification from the employee that XYZ employee of an organization has reached out. That employer has made coaching available, and so they can begin that one-on-one session. And in fact, that employer group sees a list of individuals that have raised their hand. They don't see any issues or the confidential conversations. It's just a status sheet that certain people are engaging in the coaching program.
Okay. Is Hubbub integrating a vendor, or are they providing their own coaching and software?
Yeah, so that's it's all Hubbub. So Danielle and others are part of the Hubbub team, and the software itself is part of the Hubbub platform. We've found a way to provide an environment that's positive so that I can engage in a coach and not be sent to another website, not have to call an 800 number, but be able to have that direct one-on-one confidential trusted experience, and then have, because I'm already doing challenges that maybe my employer has issued that are part of my program, at my worksite program, those are all in that same challenge platform, but they'll be noted as private, so only that employee and the coach are able to see those.
Thank you, Brian. We have another question. Can you expand on how the one-on-one coach offerings could be considered a wellness program's reasonable alternative for the ACA requirements?
Yeah, it's a good point, and I saw a number of those questions come up. As many of you know, there is that requirement to have a reasonable alternative. We've worked with a number of our organizations, clients who've used our one-on-one coach offering as that alternative solution. Maybe there's an individual with a certain disability or unable to participate in the annual program due to certain conditions, where our coaches are then able to tailor a productive session or sessions, and that's to be determined with the employer and Hubbub. We can help define that. So here's a cost-effective way that instead of paying a PEPM for all my employees to supposedly have access to a coach, I'm providing a solution as an employer for coaching the ready. So happy to discuss that with any organizations or folks that are interested. I think, Laura, we're just coming up on the top of the hour. I see that we've made our way through most of the questions. A few of you asked for a private reply. If any of you that are on the call would like a follow-up discussion on our coaching program or Hubbub in general or wellness in general, please feel free to reach out to us. So with that, I'm going to thank everyone, and thank you, Danielle. I appreciate you spending time with us and lending your expertise to our team here.
Thank you so much.
All right. With that, everyone, have an amazing afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.